Well, the pitching is interesting with the Blue Jays. And I mean, we talk about this all the time, this notion of success breeding success and failure breeds failure. And the starting rotation was so good at the beginning of the year. It kept this team in games that their offense, where their offense was almost non-existent. Everything was 2-1, 3-2, it seemed, every night. And now all of a sudden, you've got, two guys who are pitching pretty well and three guys who can't get anybody out because, Gausman's hasn't been great either over the last little while. And Kikuchi is a puzzlement from the standpoint of what do you do with him? Because he, quite frankly, looks quite lost out there.
He does. And what's interesting about Kikuchi is that in conversations with people from Seattle, a lot of this was predictable. I have heard the term soft when associated with the man. I will freely admit I haven't had any conversations with him yet. But what keeps our heads scratched, and Joe Siddle pointed this out in the broadcast, he can't quite understand why a guy with an elite fastball won't use the elite fastball. And at one point, after he had thrown a pitch behind Andrew McCutchen, nearly hit him in the ear, ended up ricocheting off his bat. I said, well, maybe, Joe, this is just me, but I've been seeing a lot of fastballs in the last couple of starts that haven't been anywhere near the plate. In fact, they've been closer to hitting people than they are hitting a catcher's mitt. And I said, I wonder if he's just straight up afraid of hurting somebody. And Joe turned to me and he said, I just think he's afraid of getting hit and hit hard. And that's the kind of mentality, I'll never forget what Mark Burley used to say is, as soon as that ball leaves my hand, it's not my problem, right? I can't control the outcome anymore. And there are just some players who have this real fear of having their pitches knocked out of a ballpark. And maybe that's the thing that is clouding the mind of Kikuchi these days and preventing him from using this electric fastball that he seems to possess.
So well, the thing, sorry, John, the thing that I find somewhat puzzling is not that he chooses to try and throw the breaking ball, which is clearly inferior to his fastball, because I agree with everything you've said, but that the coaching staff, management, hasn't mandated that he do it, that they seemingly continue to allow him to shake off fastballs and go with sliders that don't seem to be fooling anybody. And that's the part that puzzles me. I don't get it. Do you?
I don't. And you can look at very specific at bats. And I'll give you one example. The second batter of the game on Saturday, Willie Adames, at one point, Kikuchi threw him 9 consecutive sliders. And then the next pitch that he threw that wasn't a slider was a fastball, and it missed the strike zone, if I'm not mistaken, by about 8 feet. And Joe turned to me and said, well, it would make sense that you can't command a fastball when you've just thrown 9 consecutive sliders. And I thought, that's interesting. You would think that command would be rather instant for a guy that's of major league caliber. But in this case, he yanked a fastball. And a lot of it had to do with this, as you say, this penchant for wanting to continuously throw the pitch that isn't even his best. And maybe that has a little bit to do with the fact that the Blue Jays do not have, and I kind of include Danny Jansen in this equation, I don't want to say a Yadier Molina type catcher, but a JT Real Muto type experienced,
an in your face
catcher,
kind of guy,
the kind of veteran catcher who would read bats, read a pitcher's actions on the mound, go out, call time, do whatever one has to do. But you've got Gabriel Moreno and Alejandro Kirk back there, and as amazing as Kirk has been at the plate, there's still these young, impressionable, inexperienced receivers who are still learning, apparently, how to catch a big league pitcher, and maybe that's part of the issue.
But isn't this supposed to be Pete Walker's strength?
That might be one of the reasons why they gave Kikuchi a 3-year deal, right? Considering that Robbie Ray came over from Arizona and they completely transformed him.
Mhm.
And then off he went, signed his big free agent contract with Seattle. And maybe they thought, well, you know, Kikuchi's got some issues. We seem to help fix Robbie Ray. Maybe we can fix Kikuchi. So it's a 3-year contract. Maybe a year from now, if Pete gets to spend enough time with him, you're seeing a completely different pitcher on the mound. I don't know. But for now, he's an issue to the point of, personally, I can't see a team that fancies itself a contender starting him on Thursday against Tampa Bay in the opener of that 5-game series.
But to your point about what Dan said on the air, what choice do they have?
Well, they have Maximo Castillo, who finished that game with 4 innings, allowed a single hit, struck out 7, if I'm not mistaken, threw about, 65, 70 pitches. If you can get through the next 3 games without him, what the heck? Let him start the game. Send him out there for 4 innings. And then maybe, again, if you can get innings in the opener from Gosman and you don't have to use some of these low leverage relievers, maybe you stockpile them for a Thursday start so that Castillo could go 4, Trent Thornton can go 2. And now you've got 6 innings covered that Kikuchi would normally, under normal circumstances, would amass. But then you've got the issue of a Saturday doubleheader, right? Against a rare doubleheader against Tampa Bay. And maybe that's just, I know, or from what I've heard, Thomas Hatch is lined up in AAA to throw that day. So maybe that's the guy you bring up to start one of those games.